In the heart of Sichuan, life usually moves with the calm rhythm of the seasons. Mountains rise in mist, rivers cut through fertile valleys, and villages hum quietly with the work of farming families. But sometimes nature decides to break that rhythm. On one afternoon, a peaceful sky turned into a weapon. What was warm and gentle air just hours before became a carrier of ice and chaos. A storm appeared from nowhere and left behind scars that will take years to heal. No one had time to prepare. The change was frighteningly quick, clear skies shifting to dark, threatening gray. People were still outside. Farmers bent over their crops. Shoppers haggled in the markets. Children were on their way home from school. The emergency alerts that buzzed on phones came too late. By the time warnings appeared, the storm was already here.
Parts of China's southern province of Guangdong have experienced the second heaviest August rains in at least 25 years, as the seasonal monsoon has peaked. Exacerbated by climate change, the extreme weather has displaced thousands and threatens to cause billions of dollars in economic losses.
In Sichuan County, it started with strange thuds, like heavy rocks falling from above. Then the sky opened up. A brutal downpour of ice slammed the streets. These weren't small pellets. Locals described hailstones as large as rice balls, some even the size of eggs. Dense, heavy, and relentless. Within minutes, the bright colors of the town vanished under a thick white blanket. Lanterns, awnings, asphalt. Everything was buried beneath ice. People screamed as they abandoned shopping carts and ran for cover. Cars slid helplessly across icy roads. Buses came to a halt as their windows cracked under the pounding. Street-side shop awnings collapsed one by one, buckling under the weight of hail. The city center, buzzing with spring life only moments earlier, suddenly looked frozen in time. It was like a flash ice age, not snow, but a violent bombardment of solid ice.
Been in rural mountainous areas that have experienced the heaviest cloudbursts.
The reason why you have landslides and flash floods is because the water comes down so fast.
And then came a new danger. The hail began melting even as the storm raged on. Water mixed with ice, flooding the streets. Videos shared online showed rivers of slush cutting through neighborhoods. This wasn't just flooding, it was a slurry of water, ice, and debris, crashing into sidewalks, overwhelming drains, and pouring into buildings. Markets turned into canals. Alleyways became churning rivers. In nearby villages, things were worse. Unpaved streets vanished under torrents of brown, muddy water. Cars floated away like toys. Entire homes stood dark and half submerged, their lower floors filled with icy water. The power grid began collapsing. Ice-coated power lines sagged until they snapped. Branches fell onto transformers, lighting the horizon with ghostly blue flashes. Neighborhoods went black one after another. For many families, that darkness lasted through the night. Local businesses took the hit almost as hard as the homes. Glass windows shattered. Roofs punctured by hail leaked onto merchandise. Fresh produce at outdoor markets was battered, then washed away by floods. Yet even in the middle of chaos, shopkeepers tried to salvage what little they could, sweeping up glass and covering goods with plastic. But nothing compared to the destruction in the fields. For farmers, this wasn't just a storm, it was a disaster of the highest order. Orchards stripped bare, branches snapped, crops pounded into the mud, even tea plants, the pride of Sichuan, were shredded. A year's worth of labor and investment destroyed in less than an hour. The next morning revealed just how bad it was. Officials toured devastated farms with grim faces. Some could be cleared in weeks, others wouldn't recover until the next season, or longer. Early estimates put losses in the hundreds of millions of yuan. For farming families, it wasn't just money lost, it was their entire livelihood gone in one storm.
Cannot sustain that flow rate, and so therefore there will be flash flooding. And number two, the problem with many of the places.
And yet, this wasn't entirely new. Residents recalled similar disasters. In 2022, a massive hailstorm struck Jiang, cutting power to hundreds of thousands. Back in 2012, Wanyuan City saw hail as big as eggs, damaging over 12,000 homes. Sichuan has always been vulnerable, but still, storms of this ferocity seem to catch communities off guard every time. Why Sichuan? Meteorologists say geography is partly to blame. The province is a basin surrounded by mountains. Warm, moist air flows in and gets trapped. Then when cold air sweeps down from the Tibetan Plateau, it forces the warm air to rise rapidly. This creates giant thunder clouds. Inside them, water droplets are hurled up and down, freezing and growing until they fall as hailstones too heavy for the sky to hold. And now, with climate change feeding more energy and moisture into the system, storms are getting stronger. When this storm struck, local infrastructure wasn't ready. Drains clogged instantly. Streets became rivers. The combination of rain and melting hail turned into an unstoppable flood. Still, in the middle of chaos, response teams moved quickly. Emergency crews went door to door, evacuating families and checking for injuries. Workers with chainsaws cleared roads blocked by fallen trees. Utility crews risked their lives repairing power lines in the storm. Plastic tarps were handed out to families with destroyed roofs. Schools and community centers became shelters for those who lost their homes. The response was fast, brave, and vital. But recovery will be long. Families face not just the loss of homes, shops, and crops, but also the psychological scars. When skies can change from calm to catastrophic in minutes, people live with a new fear. In Sichuan's mountain communities, the lesson has been bitterly learned. Move fast, take cover, and hope the next storm spares just a little more than the last.